"Your wife is in labor." The words hit the room like a blade, and the man who was meant to rule an empire froze, because saving one woman meant destroying his future, and choosing the wrong one would cost a life. The call came while the hall was filled with white roses and polite applause. "Your wife is in labor." The message was meant to end a celebration, but it landed on a man already breaking inside. He stood at the center of the room, dressed as a groom, praised as an heir, yet powerless in the only moment that mattered. Everyone watched him smile while his hands shook, because the woman carrying his child was not the one he was about to marry. Luca Moretti had been raised to rule without mercy. He was the only son of a feared crime family, trained from childhood to hide pain and never show doubt. Yet in that moment, his breath felt thin, his chest tight, and his future split into two cruel paths. One led to power, safety, and respect. The other led to a hospital room, a woman in pain, and a truth he had tried to bury. Across the city, Naomi Carter lay on a narrow hospital bed, sweat cooling on her skin, fear and strength locked in her eyes. She had loved Luca when he was younger, softer, before the weight of his name crushed him. She was his ex-wife, the one he had sent away to protect, the one who carried his child in silence. She was black, an outsider in his world, and she had paid the price for loving a man born into shadows. The nurse spoke again, calm but firm, telling him the labor was hard and time was slipping. Luca looked at the woman beside him, the bride, chosen for power, her family watching with sharp smiles. He understood then that this was not about love or duty. This was about life. Luca had always known he could not have children, a quiet truth, learned after a brutal attack years ago, a secret, sealed by doctors in silence. The child Naomi carried was a miracle born from one brief moment before everything broke, the only chance he would ever have to be a father, the only proof that he was more than a name. His past rose like smoke around him. He remembered the night he met Naomi, the smell of rain on pavement, the warmth of her laugh cutting through his cold world. She had seen him without fear, without worship. She had touched the scar on his side and said he was still human. With her, he felt normal, almost free. They married in secret, far from cameras and expectations, believing love could outrun blood. It could not. His family had turned cruel. Whispers became threats. Naomi was followed, watched, judged. Luca was beaten in an alley as a warning, his body broken, his future altered forever. When he learned he could not father children, he told no one. He simply arranged a divorce, pushed Naomi away with cold words, and watched her leave with tears. She refused to show. He told himself it was mercy. Years passed. He became harder, quieter, more feared. He agreed to an arranged marriage that would seal alliances and calm wars. He wore the role like armor, never letting anyone close enough to see the emptiness inside. Until the call came. In the hall, silence, stretched. The bride's father stepped forward, voice low and sharp, reminding Luca of duty and consequence. Eyes watched him, waiting for obedience. No one spoke of Naomi. No one cared that another woman was in pain. The room was full of people, yet Luca had never felt more alone. He thought of Naomi's hands, steady even when afraid. He thought of her voice, telling him that real strength was choosing what was right when no one would clap for it. He thought of a life growing, fragile, and waiting. Luca lifted his head. His voice did not shake when he spoke. He said the wedding was over. He said he was leaving. He said some choices were bigger than power. The room erupted in outrage. Deals shattered. Faces burned with anger. His bride stood frozen, humiliated, her future collapsing in public. Guards moved, unsure whether to stop him. Luca walked anyway, each step heavy, each breath burning, knowing he had just declared war on his own blood. At the hospital, fluorescent lights washed everything pale. The smell of clean sheets and sharp medicine filled his lungs. He arrived breathless, stripped of titles and protection, just a man racing time. Naomi looked up when he entered, pain etched deep, surprise flashing before calm returned. She did not ask why he came. She only nodded, trusting him with her fear. The labor worsened. Doctors spoke in careful tones. Complications rose. Luca stood by the bed, holding her hand, feeling how small and strong it was. He whispered promises he could not be sure to keep. He felt useless, unable to ease her pain, yet determined not to leave again. Outside the room, his world closed in. Messages flooded in, threats and ultimatums. His family cut ties in cold words. Allies vanished. He understood that by morning his empire might be gone. Inside the room, nothing mattered but breath and heartbeat. Hours passed like years. Naomi cried out, then went quiet, gathering strength from somewhere deep. Luca watched with awe. He realized then that real power was not fear or money. It was love that stayed even when it hurt. A nurse finally smiled. A cry filled the room, thin and fierce. Luca's knees nearly gave out. The baby was alive. Naomi was safe. Tears slid down his face without shame. He pressed his forehead to hers, overwhelmed by gratitude and regret. Later, when the sun rose, Luca stood by the window holding his child. The city looked different, softer, like a place that might allow hope. Naomi watched him, her eyes tired but clear. She spoke quietly, saying that leaving had broken her, but surviving had made her strong. She said she did not need saving. She only needed honesty. Luca nodded. He told her the truth at last, about his injury, about his fear, about the lie he lived every day. He expected anger. He received understanding. Naomi said some wounds were invisible, but they still deserved care. News traveled fast. By noon, the story was everywhere. The feared heir who walked away from power, the wedding cancelled for a woman once erased. Public opinion shifted like a tide. Some mocked him, others admired the choice. Old enemies sensed weakness, new allies sensed honor. Then, something unexpected happened. Men and women who had served under Luca quietly reached out, not with demands, but with loyalty. They said they followed him because he never asked them to harm the innocent. They said they would stand with him now. Even rivals paused, respecting a man who chose life over legacy. His family tried to retaliate, but their grip weakened. Without Luca's quiet control, chaos spread among them. Deals fell apart. Trust vanished. Power, built on fear, began to rot. Weeks later, Luca walked through the city with Naomi and their child. People recognized him. Some bowed their heads. Some simply watched in silence. No one shouted. No one mocked. Respect moved without noise. Naomi once said, "Strength does not need to announce itself. It shows up when it matters." Luca learned that lesson fully as he rebuilt his life, not as a king, but as a father, not as a ruler, but as a protector. He chose a smaller world, but one filled with truth. In the end, the wedding hall was forgotten. What remained was a hospital room where a man chose courage over comfort, where love faced power and did not blink, where a child was born into a future earned by sacrifice. Some stories are loud. This one was quiet, and in that quiet, it changed everything. Because real honor is not found in what you keep. It is found in what you are willing to lose to save someone else. If this story moved you, share where you are watching from and what choice you would have made. Subscribe for more stories about silent strength, hard decisions, and the courage to do what is right when no one is cheering.